Welcome back to the Dangerous Women podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart, strength training for women as we age, why it is so vital for our health. Ladies, if you have ever wondered how to stay strong and vibrant and healthy through the years, and you haven't necessarily caught on to strength training just yet, this episode is for you. I have a very special guest. Her resume speaks for itself. I am so thrilled to welcome the one and only Dr. Pamela Peeke. Dr. Peeke is a nationally renowned physician, scientist, and thought leader in women's health, integrative medicine, and preventative care. She is also a senior Olympic triathlete, best-selling author, and TED speaker. And she also happens to have her own podcast called Her Podcast. Dr. Peeke has dedicated her career to helping women optimize their quality of life, blending science and practical strategies to empower us to take charge of our health. Whether it's in her groundbreaking research on the connection between belly fat and stress, her best-selling books like Fight Fat After 40, or her leadership roles at institutions like Harvard and the American College of Sports Medicine, Dr. Peeke has been a pioneer in showing women how to take care of their bodies as we age. So grab a kettlebell or a cup of tea and get ready for an incredible conversation. Dr. Peeke, welcome to the show. Let's dive in. So Pam, what happens to the female body as we age, and what can strength training do to help us?
So back in, oh my goodness gracious, 2005, I wrote a book which kind of made history. It's called Body for Life for Women. And on it, I was on the cover wearing sort of a sports outfit and then my stethoscope around my neck. And people were like, what's going on here? And what I did was I said, I've had it. That's it. Ladies, lift weights, for crying out loud. Get strong. And it wasn't about being able to look super hot in your jeans. Of course, that's going to happen anyway. But the main reason was women were not doing this and were missing out on extraordinary health benefits, just extraordinary. And so flash forward now, almost 20 years, good Lord, that damn thing is still selling. Good heavens. I'm writing my next book right now. And tag, you're in it too, Colleen, because you have an incredible story. But what I'm doing is updating all of the science of strength training as it relates to women's anatomy, right? So when I say anatomy, I'm talking about the big three, right? It's going to be fat, muscle, and bone. In that order, because fat is all anyone ever seems to give a damn about, but that's okay. Calm down. It's a gateway. And so one of the things that I want to make sure women understand is that I'm cool with the fact if you're 50 and over, definitely 60 and 70 and over, and really didn't do a lot of strength training, girlfriends, it is not your fault because nobody ever showed you how to do this in the gym. It wasn't cool. You went out and you had little coffee with people and you did that little thing in those days. Now it's like, hey, you want to hit the gym and talk? So if you look at Gen Z and the millennials, right, the women have now been exposed to strength training and its importance. And so I think part of this is a generational thing, and we have to kind of honor that for what it is. Now, why is this so important? Numero uno, right? You need to literally take your muscle, optimize it as best you can. We're not talking about you have to be some elite athlete, but just optimize it. That means get off your feminine behind. And you need to combine aerobic and strength training. Aerobic is extremely important for cardiovascular help. That will really help your heart pump extremely well and keep your blood pressure in check. And, it burns fat very nicely, especially if you're doing high intensity interval training. So, this is all relative to where you're coming from, right? But strength training is absolutely critical to this entire equation.
Why?
I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
All right. So let's look at your future self. Let's say, for grins, you're 40. And you're like, oh, I'm immortal, and I'm so cool. All right. That's real special. And thanks for sharing. However, life's going to get in the way. And next thing you know, you're not doing the gym thing. Well, guess what happened to your muscles? If you don't believe me, Google this. Go to Dr. Google, and you will see that within a matter of only several weeks, you're melting. Those muscles don't just sit there and go, "Oh, I'm just waiting for you to like hit the gym again." No, they're saying you don't use it, you lose it.
And Pam, what happens decade to decade in regards to a woman and her muscle
Here it
mass?
comes. Here
Okay.
it comes. Okay. So between, like teenage years and then into the 20s and then the 30s, you could really pretty well hold on to your muscle mass. This is called lean body mass, which also includes other organ stuff. But let's just, for all intent and purposes, say muscle mass. All right. You can hold on to that fairly well if you just sort of stay consistent. Going to hit the gym, lift 3 times a week, 2 times at total minimum. 3 times a week is like the best. And then obviously fit in your aerobic. All right. Now you hit your 40s, rut-row. Now you're hitting something called perimenopause. You're now going to find that your body is going to shapeshift. Your body composition is actually going to change. This happens whether you're an Olympian or just a wonderful woman on the street who's not an Olympian. All right. What does that mean? It means you're actually going to pick up a little bit more body fat around your belly. And that is because of the effect of estrogen. You're weaning off estrogen. During this period of time, you've got to be doing your strength training to be able to minimize the amount of weight gain you may get around your belly. I'm on the board of the Senior Olympics. I'm here to tell you, honey, these people are 50 and over. All of them have a little something around their belly. A
And
little
that's
something.
inevitable. Like it's just part of it.
It had nothing to do with world records. These people are crushing it. They're out there doing track and field. They're out there doing the swim. It doesn't touch them. It's just a little extra fat and, whoopee doo. But, you put on 50 pounds, you got a whole different ball game there. All right. So during your 40s, you should already have entered your 40s with a strong foundation of lifting weights and have really excellent muscles all banked and ready to rock and roll here. Okay. Now, as you enter your 50s, this is when shape shifting just absolutely, is crazed. Now you're going to really pick up a lot of excess body fat, both deep inside your belly, the worst place to pick up excess fat, because that intra-abdominal fat, if it's excessive, is highly associated with diabetes, heart disease, and dementia and cancer. So it's all bad news. You got to keep that sucker under control. Meanwhile, subcutaneously, the grab an inch or grab a foot or yard or whatever's happening around your belly. All right. So that stuff is going to get out of control if you don't already have a solid foundation. So I'm saying, look at your future self. Now, here it comes, girlfriends, the muscular apocalypse. This is what I'm calling it in my new book. All right. Now, means that in the 7th decade of life, when you're 60, all right. So all of you out there who are 30 and 40, look ahead, see your future self. All right. Walk into your 40s, 50s, and 60s with a solid foundation of muscle. Just optimize the hell out of it. Because during your 60s, whether you're an Olympian or not, you're going to drop some muscle mass. You will. Now, if you already have a nice solid foundation like you do and like I do, right? Then the amount that you actually drop, which is completely age related, just totally, this is one of the few things I can tell you that's just purely age related, then the amount you actually drop is going to be like, yeah, so who died? But if you don't have enough muscle on board, right, then all of a sudden when you drop a load because you're not working out, you're not lifting weights. Now you're starting to crawl toward frail. And if you enter the world of frail, this is one of the few times I can say this as a doctor, right? As a physician, there's no coming back.
How do you define frail?
All right. The inability to be able to get out of a chair without significant assistance, the inability to be able to bear your own body weight as you walk without significant assistance, that's frailty. Okay.
At what age could you potentially start seeing a woman be frail? Is this a 60s thing or could it be
It's
sooner? Is it later?
it depends upon a lot of things.
Okay.
If you have like medical illnesses and other stuff that's going on, that could also, lead you to that. Why? Because, for instance, if you're on certain medications that kind of rot your muscles, like, an increase inflammation throughout the body, these are like corticosteroids, things like that. Certain people have to be on them because of chronic illnesses that they have, then they will already have a significant reduction in muscle. And then as they enter their 50s, 60s, and beyond, then they're going to have serious problems. But you're actually right. A lot of the frailty stuff for sure will begin to rear its head in the 60s. And honey, if you haven't corrected the situation or if you don't have a solid foundation of regular strength training, by the age of 70, I can pretty much guarantee you're on that thorny path toward frailty.
So, for a woman who is maybe listening to this and she is, let's say she's 65 and she hasn't started strength training, is it too late for her? What do you
Never
think?
too late.
I love that as the medical professional because, I speak to women saying it's never too late to start strength training, but I think a lot of times women, they don't trust the trainer the way that they're going to trust the doctor. So, as the doctor, is it ever too late?
If you have significant frailty, you still have to move your body. So physical therapists will help you with that. But most people don't go to that place. Most people are just sort of stumbling around, lost. And I have watched women, right, begin this entire process of strength training in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s. And they absolutely crush it if you stay really consistent and you also make certain to have a good strategy. This is where a certified fitness professional comes in. You need to have that. You can't just make this stuff up. And I know, and I've been doing strength training for over 40 years now.
Would you mind disclosing to all of us your age and when you started strength training?
Well, here it goes. I am presently 73 years bold. I don't use the word old because I have no idea what that means. That's just my preference. I mean, if people want to use that's fine. God bless you. But I'm 73 years of kicking ass bold. And when I was in my medical training in my 20s, in those days, I think dinosaurs ruled the earth. I could be wrong. But I would go into this little boutique kind of gym. They didn't have all the big gyms yet, Lifetime and, all the rest of it. And I would always, just go to the treadmill. I called it the dread mill. And I would just do the hills and do it fast and run on it. And you could see on my face, like, please kill me now and take me out of my,
The
pain.
worst.
And so this young man one day walked over just as I was about ready to hop off the treadmill. And he said, "Have you ever lifted weights?" And I said, "Oh, no." And honestly, I'd never had a fitness professional in my life yet. And he said, your body, and by the way, I'm a triathlete, so I'm built very solid. I'm tall, slender, and solid. Does that make sense? Anyway, so
She's got great
um,
calves.
I got 16 and a half inches, honey. Go. So here's the gig. So what ended up happening was he said, "I'm just looking at your body and everything. I think you're just made for strength training." And I said, "Well, I know nothing about it, clueless." And so he took me through, a baseline workout. I took to it like a fish to water. I'm not even kidding. And I never looked back. And that was in my 20s, right? And I just found that it reshaped my entire body. I wasn't looking for doing anything in particular, other than I'm a physician and I just want to be healthy. And I was just in my training at that time. But I just noticed things were happening, that my body was just reshaping so that I had nice musculature, a smaller waist, relatively speaking. And, my legs were kind of crushing it. I'm just saying. And so I just kept it going. Why? I'm going to tell you why. It made me feel good. When I walked into a room, it's like my muscles were there first and I followed afterwards. I just felt like I was taller. I was more powerful, more empowered. I don't need any help being, a triple A personality, but this certainly was a nice frosting on that cake. And I just never stopped. I just kept going and then, learning new techniques and this and that. And of course, somewhere along the line, I picked up the kettlebell. And I just absolutely love it. And this is how I got to know you, Colleen, because you are certainly an extraordinary inspiration when it comes to women who kind of look at the kettlebells and go, I don't know, you have to be Russian or something to like this stuff. And I used to look at it the same way, like, are these crazy people? What are they doing with this cast iron anyway? And then once, like you, I picked it up, did some swings with the appropriate form because I had an excellent, trainer, and I was in love, and that I never looked back. So just nuances all the way through. So one of the things that's important for women to really consider is that, I think it's wonderful if you do yoga. I mean, I've used yoga, for runners, great stretches and poses and stuff that keep my balance and whatever. I do Pilates because I like to have that nice elongation of my spine. I use all of that, but that's not going to build you big muscles. Yeah,
So, what exactly are we talking about when it comes to strength training in that case? Are we doing it to build muscle? Is it for maximal strength? Is it for a functional lifestyle? Or is it more like 5 pound weights are enough? Is it, I can do random stuff just so long as I'm lifting something heavy? From your medical perspective, focusing on strength training as we age, what are we actually looking to do?
what are you looking to do is survive. Okay. What is the number one prerogative of the human being? Survival. So I'm going to ask all of you out there in podcast land, right? All you dangerous women, what I'm going to ask you to do is consider the push up. Now, the push up will cover no less than 6 muscles at one time. And of course, since I'm a woman, I like to multitask. So bring it on. All right. So if you're doing a straight leg push up, it's 6 muscles for sure. You gather a little bit more. I mean, a little bit less if you're doing a bent knee push up. When you're just learning how to do them, that's totally cool, also, right? But let's talk about survival. You asked me why this is so important. If you fell right now, if you fell, how are you going to get up? Don't be waiting for a front end loader. It's not happening, right? What if you're just somewhere, and you fell? All right. The way you get up is a push up. All right. And if you really think about it, it's mostly those maneuvers. Do you want to be able to have strong enough muscles to be able to get up? It may save your life. It may save your life at some point, which is why I'm bringing this up. So you always want to be able to do your push-ups, and that's planks as well. Planks will do the same thing. That's really great for your core, like in a major way. But you need it to be able to be strong enough to be functional in your life. I mean, the other day was a trip. I was on an airplane and I was just flying to Colorado, right? And some woman was like struggling, getting that overhead up there and everything. She looked like she was going to kill her. Thing was going to fall on her head. So I kind of popped out of my seat and I said, hey, can I help you? And, it was like, I mean, seriously, Colleen, it was like nothing. Oh, it was not that heavy, but she obviously. So then she looked at me a little bit embarrassed. I mean, she was grateful. She thanked me, but she was like a little embarrassed. And she says, well, one day when you're my age, you'll understand how difficult. And I said, ma'am, how old are you? She says, I'm 60. And I said, I don't break your heart, but I got 13 years on you. Dead silence.
Oh my gosh.
She was
Whoa.
60. Couldn't get it on up on the thing. So here's a really silly thing like that, right? I mean, just functional things. Can you even lift your grandchildren without breaking your back? Or, quite frankly, anything in life, where you really want to be able to have the strength. Like when I was in Colorado, I was hiking. I have the strength to get around big rocks. All right. I want to enjoy life. I want to be out in nature. I want to do my thing. Thank God it wasn't snowing that day. So, here I'm having way fun because I'm strong enough to enjoy what I'm doing. I had the legs that were strong. At one point we had to like crawl up, it was a stone wall kind of looking thing. And no problem, no problemo. Arms are strong, legs are strong. Let's bring it on. Right. So if you want to live your life to its fullest, fine. And being strong, right, will allow you to have the health span, the years of robust life where you can rock and roll. But, without lifting weights, without strength training, you cannot at all achieve that goal. You just can't. You don't have what it takes. But it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
You don't have to live in a gym,
You
you know.
said 3 days a week.
I mean,
3 days a
seriously,
week.
3 days a week. And then, what I love to do, given the COVID thing, I've always had my own gym, but this time I tricked it out because I'm not going through that again. And I've got just about everything. I got my kettlebells, my free weights, I've got cardio equipment, I've got a corner cable thing, everything I need. Okay. What I love to do, and this is just a thought, just throwing it out there, right? Is that I like to be able to mix it up. So for instance, I one day, like 2 days ago, I did chest, shoulder, try. That's one of my favorite little combos. I always throw in lat pull down and a leg press. I'm like a crazy person. I have a glider leg press that was custom made for me by Life Fitness. And I'm just loving every moment of it. So I always throw that in. But in between, the next day, I did kettlebells and I was doing my, deadlifts and having a whole bunch of fun, just kind of working legs and experiencing things that I couldn't really cram into a chest, shoulder, try workout. And so after a while, you learn how to change it up, make it more interesting. And I could walk in there right now if I wanted to and do anything. I could just sort of stretch out on the Smith machine. I could do what I need to do because I'm going to tell you, it makes me feel so good.
And I
It,
think that's so important that we're doing this stuff to feel strong so that we can feel empowered, so that we can enjoy life, we can survive. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other reasons why we really want to consider doing this, such as talking about sarcopenia, talking about what happens when we start losing more lean muscle mass? What is happening to our bodies in those particular situations?
Strong, lean, fierce from the inside out. Kettlebells transformed me, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. They took me from surviving to thriving, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're a 30-something or 70-something-year-old woman, strength training is going to be gold for you as you continue moving forward on your fitness journey. And my virtual kettlebell training programs are designed just for you. No gym needed, no fluff, just results. Since 2020, I've helped women across the globe virtually build strong, lean bodies from the comfort of their living room. My mission is to help you meet the version of yourself that you've always dreamed of. The woman you were destined to be. I want to help you find your fierce. Here's what I have to offer: progressive strength training programs designed to help you build muscle, drop body fat, and feel more confident every single day with a kettlebell. I also offer private virtual training. Get one-on-one coaching with me to perfect your form, progress faster, and crush your personal goals. And the best part about pairing with me is my powerful community. We're here to support your transformation because I believe that to go far, you have to go with a team by your side. The only thing standing between you and your transformation at this point is one decision. Are you ready to feel fierce, unstoppable, and unapologetically you? If yes, visit www.colleenconlon.com and see what offers make the most sense for where you are at today.
All right, so sarcopenia, basically, the sarcoplasm is muscle. Penia means not enough. All right, so you don't have enough muscle. So there are a lot of women walking around saying, oh, I look so good in my jeans and my outfit and everything, and they're not having enough protein. Remember, you got to feed muscle. And it doesn't mean you eat half a cow every day. It simply means that the grand majority of women need about 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram body weight every single day for protein, right? And then you could get that a million different ways. Now, this is for women who are not competing and are not elite athletes and all the rest of it. It's just your average woman out there who's trying to stay on top of the program. Now, women undereat protein. They're famous for this. Men do exactly the opposite. They do the half a cow thing. But women undereat it, or they go, I'm going to leave my protein until dinner. What? Why? You should be having protein from the moment you wake up in the morning. What up with that? You've got to have, so I mean, it's as simple as having, like, I love my Icelandic yogurt. So I'm getting 15 grams of protein. Then I slap some walnuts on top and I'm all the way up to 20 grams. Boom. That's what you need. Easy, easy. You could do eggs. I mean, there are just so many different ways you could do this. But you've got to remember to spread it out during the day because you're using your body, and your body needs those amino acids that you're getting from protein to build the muscle. Now let's go back to sarcopenia land. All right, so women undereat protein, so they're not rebuilding it. So I just love it when women kind of starve themselves and they go to the gym, and then, it's like, well, wait a minute. And then they starve themselves after the gym just so they can look really good in their, fill in the blank. All right, so you just tore down a bunch of muscle, right? And you're giving yourself no amino acids to rebuild it back again, which means you're eroding more and more muscle. All right. Do you see the problem here? This is not good. So you need to eat enough protein. You need to be able to stay right on top of your strength training. So there's a beautiful balance there, on the overall. And so you can avoid this whole issue of, as it were, sarcopenia. And so it's interesting. A lot of these women who want to look great in their clothes and they kind of undereat and they do this and that, and they kind of play around with physical activity. If you actually look at their body fat percentage is high because, relatively speaking, for whatever the weight they are, like, 120 pounds, I don't know, whatever, what if about 30% of that was fat? So that makes you look and feel soft. And that means you have way too much body fat, relatively speaking, to a body composition you should have, which is more muscle mass. Now, a woman can build on average, and this is also a bit genetic too, but a woman should be able to build 1 to 2 pounds per month of muscle mass if they eat enough protein and if they're really hitting it well in the gym. 1 pound for sure, 2 pounds is right up there. That's awesome because you're going from a 4-cylinder engine to a Maserati. That's what you want. You're aiming toward the Maserati. You want to be a calorie burning metabolic machine.
Why?
The reason why is because as you age, you need all the help you can get to burn calories efficiently. Because as you get older, that calorie burning mechanism becomes less efficient. So you got to have it, already on board. So that's another thing to keep in mind. There's something else, right? The muscles are attached to what? Bones. All right, guess what? Women know nothing about bones, nothing. So in my new book, I'm going to be going through every lurid detail about this because guess what? When you get your very first bone scan, in your 50s, maybe 60 or something, and you just wipe the shock off your face when you find out you're like melting and your bones are all brittle and nasty. You're like, what? Why didn't someone tell me? Well, we are today in the podcast. So when you lift weights, what's happening as you contract that muscle? It's pulling on the bone through the ligaments and tendons. When you pull on bone, you stimulate the bone building cells called osteoblasts. And so now what's happening is the bone wakes up. It's like, damn, this is cool. We have to build some more fresh bone, remodeling. We love that. You don't lift weights, you don't get that. And guess what happens? Your bone is absolutely going to be brittle. Hands down, strength training is critical for bone. Strength training is critical for making sure to optimize muscle for everything from strength to functionality, etc. And then strength training is critical to be able to keep fat in check because
So,
of the metabolic effect.
so I would imagine one of the reasons why, the Pilates class wouldn't necessarily be what we need to be doing in comparison to lifting heavy weight is because, in order to get that pulling effect on our bones, we need to be working those muscles that we really don't we don't want to break. Like, how many women end up breaking a hip as they age or a femur because of a fall? If we're not strength training, heavy compound lifts like our deadlifts and our squats, and we're focused more on the Pilates reformer, we're not set up for success. Is that correct?
Yes, and we need to be able to weight bear, right? So in the reformer, you're not really bearing your weight per se. I mean, you're doing phenomenal things. I love, doing Pilates mat work as well as the reformer. I just love it, but it's not enough. You absolutely have to pick up a weight, and that is a kettlebell. It's a free weight. It's something off the cable. However you do it, I don't care. But you've got to do that to be able to build enough muscle to be functional. Here's something else. Here's something else. A little teaser for my new book. Okay, here it comes. All right. You're 20 or 30. You've got some wiggle room. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you let it go for like a week or something. And, you were just screwing around and this and that. And then are you able to kind of like quickly get it back? Well, yeah, you can. There's no question, especially if you have a strong base. No question. Not so when you're 50, 60, 70. Your wiggle room beginning around the age of actually 40, to be perfectly blunt with you, gets smaller and smaller. And then I'm here to tell you, listen up, that at the age of 60, it's gone. And that means what I love to do is to teach people that you build a strong metabolic fire, like a fire in a fireplace. So, it takes a long time to build that. So here we are lifting weights, and now you've got the muscles and all the rest of it. Let's just say you're going to have a really funkadelic week. It's like travel and weird things are going on and back and forth. You know what you need to do? Hello. All right. I grab my tubing. Anything. When I'm traveling, I always have my little, spry tubing with me. I have to continue to stoke the fire no matter where I am. And so, in Colorado, there was no gym there. It was just a, beautiful kind of resorty, place and back and forth. So I used body weight. I was doing my push-ups. And I was doing things that I can do to constantly stimulate my muscle. Because if you don't, listen up, your muscle is going to disappear like that. And then to build it back is really hard as you get older. Is it impossible? Oh, no, it's never too late. I've watched women absolutely crush it. It's just that it's easier when you're 20. It's easier when you're 30 and 40 than it is when you're 60 and 70, right? So think about your future self. Think about building that strong foundation, because this is an all life exercise, right? You don't just sort of stop it because I just felt like stopping it. No, you just stoke that fire. I don't care what it takes to be able to know that you've got that in the bank when you need it. And as you get older, we've read about certain people in the news lately who have taken a little fall and broken a hip and all the rest of it. A lot of celebrities are running into problems. Ellen DeGeneres just announced that, it was I mean, she has this great new Netflix special. And she noticed, she stated in it that she went to see her doctor, kind of catch up with life. She's 66 years of age. And and she said, and they made me take that stupid bone test. She'd never had a bone scan. 66, never had one. So, and then it came back, what was it? Full on osteoporosis. And now she has to be on meds. So now she has super brittle bones.
So she
And
could have prevented this, and she didn't, because it just hasn't been cool for a woman her age to necessarily be strength training.
that's correct, Amundo.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and I wish, I can get on my little soapbox about the fact that women should be getting bone scans. These are called DEXAs. They're very easy. You're in and out,
When should
basically.
you start taking these scans?
Because I'm a doctor and because I know too much, I actually got my very first one, I think in my late 40s, and I'll tell you why. Because I have osteoporosis in my family and on my mother's side. So I was like a little fearful, even though I was thinking, my goodness, you couldn't do more weightlifting than I did relative to my work and everything else. And sure to form, it came back just beautiful. It was lovely. However, once I hit menopause, it started, going a little southward. And I was like, okay, so this is what aging's all about. And so the good news is I was able to keep it at bay in terms of, losing a lot of bone mineral density because I just kept lifting and lifting. For that matter, it gave me a greater incentive to
Mm.
lift, a greater one. So you absolutely have to be lifting weights. And if you think this is some weird, like 21st century idea that we have about this, no. What do you think Cave Woman did? Just sat there on her thumb all day?
She
Come
was
on,
a
man.
bad bitch. She was strong.
She's badass. She's out there. She's going, and actually, as it turns out, this whole myth about women being the little gatherers. No, she was out there hunting. She's like, bring that elk over here. And you had to be moving and pushing and pulling and lifting. And, it was ridiculously active. She probably had muscles on top of muscles. And we were built to do this. We were built. This isn't something that you and I made up. You and I were lucky enough to have gotten the message early
Yeah.
on. We were very fortunate to build that base, right? But the key thing is, more than anything else, is it's functional and we're literally doing what our genetics have always pushed us to do. This is why we feel so good when we're taking a long hike and going into the park. And, whoever took a nice walk in the park and said, that's the worst experience of my life. I mean, seriously, it just feels like you're in your body 100%. And it feels so natural and awesome. So, for all women out there who say, but I've never been athletic, who said you had to be athletic? What you do is you get the appropriate training. Somebody I know, like Colleen, is perfect at leading and guiding and training like this. And what's really important here is you take it at your level and you be careful and
And
you make sure it's form in weightlifting, as you and I both know, form.
everything. And for those women who are older, who are not even older. I mean, I run into this with the 30-year-olds within my friend group who still aren't lifting weights. They get so scared of lifting heavy weight. Or sometimes I'll get women who are like, why are you swinging heavier kettlebells than you did last year? And it's something where I feel like people just don't understand that we need progressive overload. And it's not to say the weight is always going to get heavier, but there's a lot of times where the weight is going to get heavier because you're getting stronger. So if you keep using the same 5-pound weights and you're expecting to build stronger bones or muscles or strength, it's just not going to happen. I would imagine, Pam, if there is a woman, I don't even know if age is a factor. Maybe you could tell me if age is a factor in this or not, but she is frail and she is weak. Starting body weight and eventually building to those 5 pounds is a great place to start. But eventually, as she gets stronger, the weight's probably going to go up to some extent. From your medical profession, would you still agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I'm also going to say one other thing. I'm an absolute firm believer in trying to give her every single option. And one of those options in building muscle, and this is true for all women, is one of the simplest supplements out there. It's called creatine, which I really, do you realize that doctors use this in the intensive care unit for people who are immobilized? It not only helps you maintain your musculature, but it also helps you build it once you're exercising again, et cetera. And here's a little frosting on that cake. It will also enhance cognitive performance. We didn't fully know that until the National Institutes of Health funded a bunch of studies on this. Creatine is actually just a simple little powder, but like 5 grams usually does the trick quite nicely. Always discuss this with your team, your medical team. But I have found that if women really want to build critical muscle weight, that's an excellent way to be able to augment utilizing a very simple supplement. You just throw it into water. And the best time to actually drink that water with the creatine is during exercise when your muscles are wide open and your circulation is rocking. That's when you could really optimize the utilization of this. And obviously, make sure to have a clean diet, multiple vitamin, things like this. It's a holistic, integrative approach. And I just say muscle is golden, absolutely golden.
Now, I know it's really important to focus on, like, I want to get strong, I want to build muscle as I age to, protect my older self, right? We don't want osteoporosis, we don't want to lose any additional muscle mass. Like in your words, we want to be able to survive. We want to thrive in our life until the day we die. So I'm going to pivot this slightly before we start to wrap up. I don't know how superficial this is, but from what I have seen, it seems like the women who are strength training, especially as they get older, it's almost like the fountain of youth. Is there any information that you can share, any medical information that you can share with us to support that?
Yes. And, people say this about me all the time. And that is, I tend to look 20 to 25 years younger than I am. And that wasn't, a recent visit to a plastic surgeon or something. No, this is a total body thing. And what we've been able to find is that when you strength train, when you eat well, clean eating, you get enough sleep, you do your stress management. Remember, it's a holistic, integrative approach, then you tend to live a life that is more anti-inflammatory. It is when you have more inflammation, which is the basis of disease in the human body. When you have more inflammation throughout the body, it affects absolutely every organ system, including skin, right? And it ages you. You look so much older when you have this inflammation throughout your body because you're eating ultra processed foods, you're not exercising, your sleep isn't, worth the paper it's written on, and you're just walking around with high levels of cortisol, which is stress hormone, all day long because you haven't brought that under control either. So that's how you want to look old, like look like you're really aging. Whereas, If you take much better care of yourself, lifting, I've been lifting for over 40 years. And, am I lifting the same every day? And is everything perfect? Of course not. My life is hell half the time because I've overcommitted it everywhere, but that's okay. That's my story another day. However, that being said, I never gave it up. I just stoked the fire if I couldn't get to a fire, So if I had to use my tubing because I'm traveling internationally, fine, God bless. Okay, whatever it took. But you're actually right. It is very much a fountain of youth that women who strength train look different. They look younger, stronger, more confident, empowered. It's really weird, but go into a gym and scope it out. They're not like hiding in a corner going, I can't look at my thing. No, they're out there like crushing it, doing a deadlift or something. And you're like, wow, I want some of what she has. Yeah, well, show up in the damn gym and you will.
It just seems like there's so many benefits as to why a woman should be considering strength training, you know, particularly with the focus of taking care of my future self. But the list is just so vast. Is there anything that you would like to say to a woman who hasn't started a progressive strength training program yet?
Absolutely. What I would tell a woman, and I've only done this like a million times because so many women are like, I don't know. Number one, it's one of the most important things you can do to survive the rest of the decades of your life. Period. End of story. Number one. Number two, it will absolutely gift you with youthfulness. And if that's something that you value, which everyone does, who wouldn't want to look, very robust and youthful? Okay, rock on. I'm not saying that you're 16, you want to look like you're 20. I'm saying optimize where you are. Just optimize it, right? So there you have that. And the other thing I would say is don't be afraid. Make sure to get an A team of people who will help you with nutrition, with your physical activity. Get your A team. Now when you go, but that's so much work. Okay, girlfriend, I got you on this one. Okay, how much work did you do to be able to find a really great hairstylist? Ha, gotcha. First of all, you ask like 65 people, then you look at their hair, and then you go and experiment with one or two people and find out which one knows what the hell they're doing, and back and forth. It took you hours, weeks. You're just figuring this out. Well, why are you complaining about this then? Do your homework, get an A team, do the work. It's hard work. So what? Because the return on investment for your time and effort is your life and your health. It's priceless. It's precious. So of course you're going to do that, and just be patient with yourself. Actually have fun, laugh. I hope you have epic fails. I have some of the funniest ass things I've ever done in the gym. Like, oh my God, not doing that again. Or not going to do it that way again. And just have fun. It's like, wow, it's like a kid. Watch a kid learn how to do something. They're rolling all over the place, laughing. They're not like saying, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I just did that. No, they're like, they just laugh and they, kind of elbow the guy next to them and go, I can't believe I just did that. Have fun as your beautiful body remolds. And I will guarantee you, hands down, do not bet with me, I win. All right, that if you keep this up for a year, right, and just be consistent. I never said perfect. Don't ever use that word around me. Consistent, 80%, right? You will notice extraordinary differences in yourself and a great health benefit as well.
Thank you. I don't think there's a better way to close this episode off. Pam, thank you so much for being here and giving us all of this great guidance. For women who are looking to get in contact with you, where is the best place for them to connect?
Run on over to drpeeke.com. That's drpeke.com, and all of my social media is there too. So drpeke.com. And of course, you can see where all my books are. I have 3 New York Times bestsellers and writing another one right
When
now.
is the new one going to be ready for us to check it out?
I'm hoping 2025 if everything goes well. A
Okay.
little later in the year.
Okay. Well, if you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure to give us a rating and review and connect with Pam. Check out her books. She is such an incredible woman and definitely an incredible person to learn from on your health and wellness journey. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Women are stronger together, so share this with a woman who you want to see rise. When we embrace positive takeaways, we level up, and when we share them, we change the world. Follow us on Instagram at The Dangerous Women Podcast and let us know what you want to hear next. And remember, dangerous women redefine wellness and the world. So be fierce, be authentic, be dangerous.